right, so today's video, we are watching a video from Giovanni called When the Developers Are Smarter Than the Player Base. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what this video is about, so we'll check it out, see everything that's here, and yeah, go from there. I don't know what it's about, so I'm just gonna see. Let's see. And make sure to check out Giovanni's channel.
Hey, quick question. If you saw two Reinhardts shielding in front of each other, would you call that hero overpowered because neither of them are doing meaningful damage to each other?
No.
Whatever your answer to that question was will matter and be important for the end of the video. Recently, I've started to feel bad for the Overwatch balance team. And not because their job is hard or anything, but because when they release a new hero to Overwatch, they mentally have to prepare for countless opinions that are somehow uneducated, yet said so confidently. But then to rub salt in the wound, they gotta grit their teeth and appease the objectively wrong gamers. Now, with the introductions of hero perks,
I'm gonna be honest with you, I gotta restart. I gotta go back.
The Overwatch balance team.
I just zoned for a second.
Not because their job is hard or anything, but because when they release a new hero to Overwatch, they mentally have to prepare for
this is what happened to me. I started to look at the background here, looking at all the PvE stuff, and then forgot what was going on. That's what happened to me.
Countless opinions that are somehow uneducated, yet said so confidently. But then to rub salt in the wound, they gotta grit their teeth and appease the objectively wrong gamers. Now, with the introductions of hero perks, I've decided to make this video.
Okay.
Because I'll give credit where it's due. Perks proved that the devs have a deeper understanding of their hero roster than most, including myself, assumed. Side note that makes these 3 videos even more relevant. I think we should start light with a quick history lesson.
Okay, I'm listening.
If you're Lucio, you just sit on the point and press E.
Okay, Blizzard!
For those who may not know, there was a time back in Overwatch 1 where playing Widowmaker on attack would get you reported, flamed, and a nice little surprise in your mailbox. Not angry at Widowmaker herself, but simply the idea of her on the attacking side of a game mode was enough to warrant such reactions. So what did Blizzard do to turn Widow from a throw pick into your sleep paralysis demon? Nothing. In fact, the only reason I'm using Widow as the first example...
I was going to pause saying, well, Widow also gets more value in 5v5 now because there's like one less tank, so there's a lot less... Your position and needs to be even more important than it was before, except for the tank. The tank position in 6v6 is even more important. At times. It's weird how that goes. Only thing I can think of with Widow that they've changed over the time is like the scoped in, right? How quickly you can do that stuff, but I could be wrong. And fall off.
We recently got to look into the past with Overwatch Classic. And yeah, Widow was just as strong as she is now. Even with the tweaks to her numbers that she got over the years like everyone else. No rework, nothing. What changed was the player.
Well, players got better too.
To understand the character and the kit, the Overwatch community made a historic moment that people rather not acknowledge.
Okay.
I could celebrate the concept of the hero finally getting their time in the sun like many others
No, stop! No! Listen, I'm already battling this in ranked right now. Every game is a sojourn. Okay? Whether I'm watching a video or I'm playing ranked.
Or I could look a little further into the situation and talk about the one thing Overwatch players fear the most.
What's that?
Accountability. People willing to put their hand up and say that they simply were not informed well enough when yelling their opinions.
I'm ready.
When Lifeweaver came out, I made a video talking about supports and what direction they are heading in. I made a point to explain that Lifeweaver is strong, but not overpowered. And quite a lot of people actually disagreed and felt like this hero was unimpactful and weak. Everyone cried to either rework his kit or buff him drastically. The story does kinda start off similar to Widowmaker's. I was extremely annoyed by this, because when played right, Lifeweaver was a hero with insane healing potential and utility. And the reason I was annoyed with people's ignorance was because Blizzard was different. They became reactionary, accommodating, willing to change something they knew they shouldn't just to keep the uninformed happy. You know, I've made fun of the Overwatch team's balance schedule before, mocking how boring it is to wait for a mid-season patch to change anything, but there was a silver lining to that. If a new hero was to come out...
I feel like they have been doing more frequent like balance changes as of recent. I'm not saying like over the past 2.5 years, but they don't just wait for mid-season patch anymore. Actually, I would say for the past year. And again, I could be making that up. I haven't looked at the actual data, but I feel like they've had more frequent like 2-week changes now. It feels like beginning of the season and then 2-week changes. So also my little side note on Lifeweaver here. I think Lifeweaver is good. I've been saying that even with like spectators. I think the problem that people run into with Lifeweaver is the reactionary playstyle that's required there. And sometimes it can go a different way for a lot of people where we're like, you're going like, you go in for this really cool play. Like you're ready to go. You know your HP is going to be low, but you know your limits as a tank, and then you get pulled back. I think that's where people run into some like issues on that side. But I think even with the new perk where Lifeweaver does the extra damage perk where there's like that explosion damage, like I have Lifeweavers in my rank games. Again, I'm going to be a bit biased because obviously in top 500, like I'm going to see players who are really, really good at these characters or these heroes, right? And I play with Lifeweavers who absolutely dominate, right? Like absolutely dominate and can take over games or like really pop off. But I understand that's not the same experience across the board. And that's kind of where when it gets talked about with balance and everything one thing I've had to learn over the past, 2 years of spectating series is that every rank plays differently. And while I might think a hero like Sojourn absolutely just runs lobbies, there's a good chance that in Silver, Sojourn is just, has a 45% win rate, which actually I think is around the win rate Sojourn has. So the point I'm making is that I've started to understand that each rank has different balance that is needed, and like it can be hard to find that in between, right? Hence why you see Sojourn get all these buffs, even though in top 500 you see Sojourn pop off. In reality, Sojourn struggles elsewhere. So anyway.
And people didn't understand their kit, they would have to wait for that mid-season patch, giving the player ample opportunity to understand how to actually play the new hero. Slowly people started to see what I was talking about. All the little things that make a hero unique. His range, line of sight, burst healing that
Zelda
tracks
music.
through any object to always hit its target, great survivability. An interactive ult used in more ways than just one. Life Grip was stronger from a distance. It didn't cleanse like Zuzu, but because of the long-range LOS, you would grip your teammates, giving them many iframes and taking them out of harm's way. It gave the ability an identity, not being compared to Zuzu anymore. And then my fear came true, something I saw coming a mile away.
What's that?
By the time people understood how to use this hero, getting healthy healing stats, impactful plays, and truly making this hero become his own, your demands came true. The buffs you claimed he needed are now here to save the day, right? All of a sudden, Lifeweaver went from being a complex hero that takes time to understand into an unkillable heal bot with an overbearing ult, healthy healing numbers becoming absurd. It was the hero I didn't want, the hero I said we needed to avoid, and the hero Blizzard knew he would become, but had to create for you. Well, who cares? There is always next time. If we think something is overpowered, surely we will take the time to understand the—
What version of Lifeweaver is being talked about, though? Because I still think that early release Lifeweaver was not that good. Also, I can already tell where this is going based off of the map that we're about to watch. I'm just going to say, like release Lifeweaver was not good. Like, it was to the point where even if you learned how to play Lifeweaver, you just got limited by stuff. Maybe I'm biased, but I feel like current Lifeweaver's a better version than the initial one. And yes, you could argue that maybe you've hit an overtuned state, right? That hasn't been seen yet, maybe with the damage output now, right? Or maybe with a couple of the healing numbers. But it feels like Lifeweaver's a lot better, and definitely a lot better for the people who enjoy playing Lifeweaver, and technically for the people who have Lifeweaver on your team now, a much better hero. And I'm seeing way more damage output than Lifeweaver that I've ever seen. Of course, it's playstyle based, right? So again, there could be some bias there where more players doing that. But I don't know. I feel like Lifeweaver's better now than and is like a much more viable option. It's really hard, like sometimes to have a hero that is super reactionary to end up being played a ton. But Lifeweaver's being played a lot, and I don't know. I actually have had many Lifeweavers now that in my games that just pop off. Again, each rank's different, right? I even have I have Lifeweavers now that literally just encourage me to run in as a tank, maximize as much as I can do, and just pull me out. It's great. I love it. It's fun. So it's been I don't know. I think release Lifeweaver was really rough. But yeah, anyway.
The hero and their weaknesses before complaining. Sound the alarms, bad news, Mauga has been released and is absolutely killing the game. Bro was rivaling Overwatch 2's longevity before Marvel was. I know, good wordplay. An Overwatch Pro player set up a scenario where he was playing as Bastion with a nano boost and a mercy pocket. He would attempt to kill a Mauga who was simply using his cardiac overdrive with Baptiste healing. The result was a very close victory for the Bastion. Now, who in their right goddamn mind would possibly argue that this was a balanced hero? You know why they call me Shalissa, right?
Well, technically,
You know when Soldier 76...
just to pause for a second, though, if you're standing still as Bastion, though, like, in front of, like, a Mauga, like, I kind of expect Mauga to win that. Is that bad? Like, if I'm on Diva, there's a standstill Bastion in front of me, there's a good chance I kill the Bastion, too, but anyway.
kills someone with his rockets, he sometimes says, Death Spiral. Well, the Death Spiral is in reference to multiple variables...
True, nanoed Bastion. You are right. You know what? Now that you bring that back, it was nanoed. So, like, nanoed, yeah. I see what you're saying. I must have missed that part. I only thought of damage boost.
Having unique domino
Either way,
effects on
though,
each other, resulting
I still
in a
think...
catastrophic
yeah.
climax.
Although Mauga's difference is that version, right? Mauga's at... I forgot what it was. 20% now? Yeah.
Or maybe it's because his rocket spiral when shut up, it doesn't matter. Mauga was a victim of straight up stupidity. It's about to get real wordy, so try and follow along. To identify where this all went wrong, we gotta figure out Mauga's best tank matchup. Basically, Mauga E good, but only if do damage. Who can Mauga consistently damage when using his cardiac overdrive?
Tank.
So obviously we rule out Xar, Diva, Sig, Rein. Orisa can spin to block his damage, but also Javelin to stop him for a moment. You also got to consider that simply stopping Mauga from shooting would mean he would have to spend his precious cardiac overdrive time winding up his guns. Doom can do the same with his punch, but more importantly, he's not really a good tank for Mauga to face tank because why would Doom be brawling a Mauga? Ball and Monkey are in the same boat. Junker Queen is decent, but also a smaller target out of all the tanks.
Okay.
Ramatra at worst can block his healing with his shield, or block it with block. Roadhog is a good target for Mauga, but that doesn't mean Roadhog is helpless against him. In fact, saving your hook for Mauga at a distance can practically run out his entire ability or give it little sustained value. Like I said though, overall this matchup is better for Mauga by a long shot. But is there a single tank that can give Mauga 100% of his value from his overdrive? The thing that made him so broken.
Mauga?
A character who couldn't interrupt Mauga's E without dying.
Well, it's Mauga.
A character so big all of his shots would hit, even from a distance.
Oh, it's Mauga.
A character with enough survivability of their own to fully bring out Mauga's survivability, with not even the slightest chance of outplaying him like a good Roadhog could even do. It's Mauga.
Yep.
Mauga's best matchup is Mauga.
Well, yeah.
Picture this.
Okay.
The new hero was finally released and everyone is playing Mauga. But as you know, Mauga's mirror matchup is his best matchup for survivability. So everyone noticed soon that Mauga isn't dying. Now remember the clips you would all see, Mauga 1v1s staring at each other? When those clips became popular, people's opinions became... wrong. Just play Mauga and not die. But he's only not dying because everyone is playing his best matchup. The matchup you're telling everyone to play.
Okay.
It was a death spiral. An infinite loop that mocked the uninformed. Because not soon after, Mauga would be nuked, practically dropped off the top 500 ranked leaderboards.
Okay.
Many people would say he's useless, gutted, and has no place in Overwatch 2. Wouldn't this prove me wrong? Everyone said Mauga is OP, he's at the top of the leaderboards, gets nerfed, isn't on the leaderboards as much. Well, in this very season that Mauga was nuked and considered a horrible pick, I got my highest rank ever. What was the difference between me and hundreds of thousands of people?
I'm listening.
Y'all dumb as hell. See, the reason I got to such a high rank in his supposedly nuked state is because he wasn't actually any weaker. In fact, here is a recent clip of me looking lovingly into another Mauga's eyes. It's practically the same as when he first released. What changed yet again?
I do want to pause though. What season or what are we referencing Mauga getting nerfed? Like, you're talking about the recent nerf? Like the recent nerf? Or are we talking about the nerf prior? I just don't know what nerf we're talking about. Like, Mauga is just... I'm only asking, like, it's just because I don't know what version. Like, Mauga's good because of multiple reasons. I think Mauga now is probably in a much better... I think now Mauga's kind of fallen into a spot where it's you can play Mauga and do well, but it's not going to be like, oh no, I might have to swap type of situation. I mean, like, I play Diva, so, like, I didn't really ever have to swap against a Mauga. What was the difference was, right? The difference between me winning against a Mauga and losing against a Mauga as a tank never really was about, like, being able to stop cardiac overdrive, because I can always do that as Diva. I can sit there for 3 seconds and just hold DM, right? It came down to the engagement point that Mauga could do, and that was better than a lot of tanks at the time. Mauga could go in, have a bunch of damage reduction, slam, pop Cardiac Overdrive against whoever, and then the rest of the team is there, and that's what made Mauga really strong at that point, right? So even though Mauga was getting nerfed, and like all that was happening, it was how you could engage as a tank. You just had a lot of like really good tools to survive that. Now Mauga is even a little bit worse than before now, and kind of has this opportunity to be a pretty good, to be a hero that doesn't feel as oppressive to play against, but is still a strong hero for people who are good at him. And I think that's like their overall goal, is to get heroes to a spot where they're still good, but it's going to be based off how you play it rather than like relying on like just how strong a cooldown is. So Cardiac Overdrive is in a better spot than it used to be.
Again, was the players.
Yep.
See, that Mauga nerf encouraged people to do one very important thing: not force his best matchup. Diva, Sigma, Zarya, absolutely obvious no-brainer picks were encouraged simply because everyone was saying Mauga is nuked and bad, not realizing it wasn't due to the nerf, but because people stopped forcing his
Kind of a
best
cool crosshair,
matchup.
side note.
This update didn't kill Mauga.
Good aim.
It broke the death spiral. People's eyes began to open and they realized they only got to deal with one thing. All of a sudden Mauga wasn't broken, he was simple to kill. History repeated itself once again. I'm gonna say something that the Overwatch team probably wishes they could say every single time a developer blog releases. When you see or hear the phrase something on the lines of, Mauga was performing better than expected, they aren't referring to the hero himself, they're referring to you. They expected you to perform better, not to force Mauga's best matchup and call him broken. They expected you to understand his very obvious weaknesses, and this so-called nuke of a nerf proves that. It didn't actually do anything, people just realized the options that were already available.
Engagement.
It's why he was so strong on launch. They expected you guys to, quite frankly, back up all the barking you do. Apparently we as the community know best, but we couldn't even identify and figure out the most simple puzzle. Instead, we needed help from the big dumb idiots at the Overwatch team that apparently know nothing.
That was like a very unique video there. Okay. Well, let's talk about this very quickly. Holy crap, I gotta put a better scene here. Like here's my take on the overall like discussion here, right? Like in general, the way I see this, at least in my opinion, is I think there's a lot more to it than just like nerfing a number on Mauga that does that. There's a lot of like variations that go into it, right? So an example would be like, while I could play Sigma against a Mauga, right, and it's good against Mauga, and you know me wrong, this player is really good too. Like you can see the tank stuff. It's like, yeah, but then you introduce a Kiriko. You know what I mean? Then you introduce a Kiriko, and like you're going, yeah, we can anti-grenade the Mauga, but now the Mauga's engaging on your team, then is also getting cleansed before the Cardiac Overdrive's done, and now it's back to a team setting again, right? So I think that's kind of where it's at with that one, where it's like one of those, I'm trying to think of the way to explain it. It's like one of those situations where there's a lot that happens that puts tanks to still be viable, but also feel bad to play against. And I think that's what Mauga ran into. It's not that Mauga is necessarily like, that players didn't recognize that Mauga, you know, couldn't be killed, right? Like I could go Diva and win against Mauga because I know that, right? But the problem was when you went up against the correct comp and they engaged on you, it became really difficult in a team setting to win that consistently, which is why teams opted for that, right? I mean, you could even reference OWCS where like Mauga was being played a lot, but then a team was running Wrecking Ball, right? I mean, you could say Mauga was being ran a lot, and then you saw teams playing Torb Sim, right? The point I'm making is that Mauga is really good. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things where there's a lot of, I guess, is nuance the correct word, that goes into balance and goes into like variation, like balance and all of that. But sometimes, you know, just a singular Mauga change may not change how the game plays overall because another hero that's needed to make it easier isn't quite there yet, vice versa. So I'll summarize this here in the end with that is every rank also is different with how it plays. So while something might be very apparent in a top 500 game of like, this is how you kill Mauga, you know, you might even be in like, let's say plat, and it might be a little bit different to do that. Like your teammates will be going, yeah, just go Ana and nade them. Right? But then you go on and nade them, and then they go Kiriko, and then you cleanse them, and then you don't have Honor Grenade, and then you don't have your cooldowns, then Mauga runs in, engages, and then you just lose, right? So there's a lot of things that can happen. But balance is just, it's a thing that has a lot of back and forth. Anyway, it was an interesting watch, because I didn't really know what it was about, because I didn't know, like, I just saw the title, and I went with it. So anyway, yeah. Make sure to check out their channel. It's Giovanni on YouTube there. We'll have all the links in the description, all that. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to all the YouTubes if you haven't, leave a comment. All that helps. If you want to submit more stuff for us to react to, my Discord's where you do that. We also record these live on stream. You can see the Twitch, upload the webcam, also stream on YouTube. So stop by if you haven't. With that being said, I hope you have an amazing day /night.